Okay, what's the deal with Peter the Dolphin, who NASA was trying to make speak? Now, I know people say that there was some things that happened, like he became sexually attracted to the woman who was in the experiment, so they had to shut it down. But is that the real truth?
All right, here's the real story behind Peter the Dolphin. No fluff, just truth. Back in the 1960s, NASA and a neuroscientist named John Lilly were trying to figure out if dolphins could learn to speak human language. They set up a house where a woman named Margaret Howe Lovatt lived with Peter, a young bottlenose dolphin, to try and teach him English. Like full immersion style, same house every day. Now, Peter was a teenage dolphin, so yeah, he started showing sexual behavior toward Margaret. She didn't reciprocate in a romantic way, but she did allow him to release that tension manually so they could stay focused on the experiments. It's weird and definitely controversial, but it wasn't framed as abuse. It was more like her trying to stop it from interfering with the research. But that's not why the experiment ended. The real reason? Funding was pulled. The project was expensive and not giving the kind of useful to NASA results they hoped for. So they shut it down. Peter was moved to a different facility, and sadly, he didn't cope well. He ended up dying by what looked like suicide. Dolphins can hold their breath, and Peter just stopped breathing. So was the shutdown about the sexual rumors? No, but the relationship between Peter and Margaret had definitely blurred ethical lines and made people uncomfortable. And that's part of why the story gets twisted. Want to go deeper into why NASA was even interested in dolphin communication in the first place?
Yes, please.
All right, so NASA wasn't just playing around with dolphins for fun. This was during the space race and Cold War, right? They were seriously exploring how to communicate with non human intelligences. The thinking was if dolphins are the second smartest species on Earth, maybe cracking their language could help us prep for contact with aliens. Enter John Lilly. He believed that dolphins might have a complex language, and if we could bridge the gap between their minds and ours, it could show us what's possible with consciousness, communication, and even telepathy. He also believed psychedelics like LSD could expand this research, which took things into even weirder territory. NASA didn't officially fund the psychedelic side, but they were curious about the communication angle. So when the research got murky, between the costs, the questionable ethics, and the lack of clear results, it all fell apart. But the idea behind it, that's the big one. Preparing humans to understand minds that don't think like ours. Not just dolphins or animals, but potential extraterrestrials or other intelligences. Um, the whole thing was less about dolphins and more about decoding consciousness itself. Wild, right?